welcome to another video. How to trust yourself. This is what we'll be covering today, what we'll be looking at, and I'll give you some things that you can do that will help you bring more trust again towards yourself. But let's actually look at that, what's really happening. So what's really happening? Why are you not trusting yourself? Well, there's two things that could be going on, maybe more, but those are two things I will be focusing on. Number one is you're not following through with what you're saying, as in you say you're going to work out, you say you're going to do XYZ, some program or something like that, and then you disappoint yourself for not doing it, you beat yourself up about it, and you feel you can't trust yourself. Number two is that you have done something and you're regretting it, meaning you have hurt someone, you have hurt yourself in some way, and you feel like, oh, I can't trust my intuition, I can't trust myself because of this incident. We'll be looking at number one first today. I'll probably make another video around number two, which is the hurting people or having made some behavior, had some behavior that has hurt other people, and that's why not having trust. That's number two, and that is what we'll be looking at in another video. Number one is the one about the behavior, you not following through what you're saying, right? So that is kind of happening. And when you look at that, well, it's quite simple and straightforward what's happening, which is that there's a split. There's a split within you that's saying one thing and you're doing another thing. So there's competing values, competing things inside of you, competing for attention and competing for execution in a way. So when you have this kind of split, when you look at it, at least how it has played out in my life, is that I've grown up having to do things. Most people grow up this way, that you should practice something, you should behave a certain way, you should eat something. Why? Because that's what adults have been telling you, and that's how it's supposed to be because everyone is doing it, right? Well, this kind of tendency can invoke rebellion in us, that we don't want to do certain things. Well, it most likely does in some way have an effect on us. And so when we get older and we do get to a stage where we want to create something, this kind of old programming kind of habit is inside of us of like, well, go fuck yourself. I don't want to do this. You're telling me I should do this. I don't want to do this. It's this kind of childish rebellion that comes up in us, and that holds us back ultimately because we do want to create something, but at the same time there's this childish kind of, no, I don't want to, because there's this feeling of, we're kind of almost superimposing something onto us because we want to go for something. Now, the solution for this is that you need to spend some time with yourself. You need to sit down with yourself and you need to be really honest. What is happening within you? What are the values that you have? What do you want to do? So you want to work out. Why do you want to work out? Why is it important to you? What's close to your heart, right? That is really important. And then not just this may be the easy part, but also the opposite part. When you have gone through cycles of not doing certain things, right, not following through, you come back to yourself and be, what was happening? What is it that I want there? We have to be really clear that this is your life, so you can do whatever you want. You can literally do whatever you want. Yes, there's certain regulations. If you break them, you're going to go to prison. You can still do whatever you want, just have to live with the consequences. So what is it you actually value here? So I am watching TV, though I said I'm going to work out. Maybe I actually want rest. Rest is really important to me. Maybe entertainment is really important to me in this moment, right? So those are the things that you need to look at. What is in this kind of behavior that's happening, this kind of childish behavior? I want to be independent. Well, doing what you want is actually independent. And there's no one you have to answer to but yourself. So you can do whatever you want. And another thing you can give it a try is to actually play this part out. Meaning, for example, for me it was TV. I grew up for quite some time without a TV, and it was a bad thing in some way to overwatch TV or be unproductive, because productivity was something that was highly valued in my family. It's usually highly valued in society as well. And so not being productive, being lazy, just consuming was a bad thing. And so what happened is that I just gave myself full permission to watch, to be lazy, to do nothing, right? And it came to the point where I was watching the Fast and Furious 1 till 7 in one go. I was not brushing my teeth. I was barely eating. And if I was eating shit. And at the end of, I don't know, 2 days or something like that, I was feeling shit as well. So, I have gone into it. I have experienced it. I've given myself full permission. I have realized, not just intellectually, not just from an idea from someone else, that this is not good. I realized for myself, this is not satisfying. It really doesn't do me any good. I don't really enjoy it. And that was the story of that. It disappeared, and if it surfaced again, I gave myself permission again to kind of explore it a bit more deeply, because again, those are explorations for you, and you need to see for yourself what's there, right? What's drawing you to wanting to watch things? Is it because it's the forbidden thing? Is it because it's taboo, right? If you have certain sexual tendencies, it's always the same story around resistance and resisting things, not being allowed certain parts of you, and because they're suppressed, they kind of come out in a way that you don't really want to, right? And they are often unconscious because, well, you're not allowed to have this in the first place. So giving yourself permission is another thing that you can do. They both work. It's not that only one of them you need to apply. You can apply both. You can play with them. But this is really what you need to do. You need to start unifying yourself. You need to come into unity with yourself so you can move forward aligned. Because if you're not aligned, if you have this split, you're going to keep disappointing yourself. Not because you're not trustworthy, but simply because you value different things and you're not really sitting down with yourself to feel into those different values and seeing how you can bring them about in your life. For example, you value entertainment, well, great, then go and entertain yourself, make space for it. You value downtime, fantastic, go make space for it, have your downtime, right? You value productivity, great, make space for it, go and be productive, go and create. But as long as you just kind of walk through autopilot and repeat this kind of cycle of saying something and not doing it, well, it's not going to do you any good, really. It's just going to reinforce this belief that you're not trustworthy. And it's simply not true. You having said something and not doing something does not mean that you as a person necessarily are not trustworthy. It just means you have this kind of split happening inside of you, and that you're doing the best you can actually in this situation. You have been doing the best you can with the understanding that you have. So you need to increase the understanding that you have about yourself and about what's happening in your personal psyche, so that you can resolve this in a way that's good for you. The second kind of thing that you can look at and inquire about is, okay, I am not trustworthy. Well, okay, we looked at what this means. I don't follow through. Well, does that make me not trustworthy? Who am I? Who is this thing that I'm thinking is trustworthy or not trustworthy? This is kind of line of inquiry that is quite important, because, for example, my body is not trustworthy. Yes, in a sense, you're going to I'm relying on it every day that it's functioning. But ultimately, this body will fail me. Your body will fail you. You will die. In that sense, it's not trustworthy, right? Your mind, well, your mind can go crazy. Your mind is not trustworthy either. Your mind can produce shit, actually, all kinds of thoughts that are not true. Is it trustworthy? Well, not really. So if you're looking for trustworthiness in the physical, in the form of objects, well, none of them are really trustworthy. And it's the same thing for any person out there, your mom, your dad, your friends, whoever you're relying on, they're not trustworthy. They can go through difficulties themselves and disappoint you in the end because you put trust in something that is inherently not trustworthy. And this is just the nature of the physical reality. It's the nature of objects, because they are transcendent. They don't stay. They don't have a permanent stay in permanent place, and so they will always fade away at some point. And so this inquiry of, well, who am I? Who is it? What is it that I'm actually wanting to trust is a really interesting line of inquiry that I definitely recommend that you sit down with and inquire into. Because what you will find is that a lot of the issues around trustworthiness, if it's maybe centered around self-doubt and feeling like you have a lack of skills or anything of that, this stuff is kept alive by thoughts, and especially by self-referential thoughts. By you having thoughts about the I, about this persona that is kept alive in this cloud of thoughts. And when you inquire of who you really are, you start to realize, well, this persona comes and goes, yet you stay. You are the one who's aware of the persona. So you're not the persona. You're something else but the persona. And suddenly you start to disidentify yourself from this distrust, which is really just a thought in the end, actually. You start to disidentify yourself, and it has less of a grasp of you because you see through it. You see through it, and you start to rest in your being, in who you really are, which is not an object. Because any object you are aware of. Well, if you're aware of it, you're not the object. That's not who you really are. Because the object can be here, object can be gone, yet you still remain. So there's this space that you are, where trust or not trust really doesn't really play a role anymore, because those are just thought-based. So this is another approach that you can take. Those are the 3 kind of approaches that I've given to you. I repeat them one more time. One is to sit down, unify yourself, go through what you actually value. Now this is not an intellectual exercise, it is something you have to feel inside, what actually resonates in you, what evokes response in you. It's not just oh, I'll make a little list. No, it's just, you need to sit down and you really feel that. What do you value? Where are you split in your values? How are you bringing those values into your life? How are you going to keep bringing those values into your life? How are you going to make space for them? Those are kind of the questions that you can play with. Number 2 is to actually give yourself permission to play. To go and be that child, go and consume, go whatever it is that taboo is, the thing that you keep doing that is so bad, and just do it and do it and do it, fully indulge in it, see what happens. For me, what happened is that I really didn't like it, and that I ended up thinking, well, I can do something else with my life, and I moved forward in unified, because there was not a taboo anymore. I can still, like literally, I can just go back and watch stuff right now. I just don't want to. That's the big difference, because I've experienced it and it's not been satisfying for me. So that's number 2, to play it out. Number 3 is to investigate, what is it that you're actually trying to trust? Who are you? Who is the I that you're trying to trust? And inquiring into that, exploring that on a deeper level, those kind of inquiry really takes space. It is not an intellectual exercise. You're not going to find answers. If you find an answer, that's not who you are. It's that simple. So this is the line of inquiry that can help you, and that can take care of a lot of issues that you might be encountering, because they are just kept alive by thoughts about thoughts about thoughts, right? And really, the one thing that I want to re-emphasize, it is your life, you know. So if you indulge in something and you feel guilty because you're supposed to be productive, you know, everyone else can go fuck themselves. It's your life. If you want to be unproductive, be unproductive. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything goes through cycles in nature. It is a natural thing to do. We just have this obsession with productivity in our society, which doesn't really make any sense. Anyways, if you like this video, please subscribe, like it, share it, whatever you want to do, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.